Hey, hello. I'm back again. Um, I'm deciding to do a another video in response to another video I did probably a week ago. It was last Tuesday when I did it. It was the 28th, I think, when I did it. Get out of there, Tiger! You're gonna make a mess. Okay. Well, Tigey Wigey. Okay, never mind. But anywho, I'm doing a sequel video. Basically, that's based on the video I did last week. It was last Tuesday. It was like a 50-minute long video where I was basically talking about how the rap game was special to me, and about I sit here and wonder why dreams that I had and aspirations I had in my life never happened. And any time I made an attempt or even went hard at it, why did it fail? How come something happens, you know? It's just like me trying to do the reality show thing and then talking and then going off the subject. And I guess I'm going to talk about maybe a few events that might have happened then. And now I'm starting every time I'm thinking about what happened this week, in contrast to then, I'm sitting here wondering if God is trying to tell me something, you know. Okay, and I think this is a pretty positive way to look at it. And this is what happened this week. I've been having financial problems, of course, with the bank, and my bank account went in overdraft about $740 because I needed money. It's not that I couldn't manage my money, but it's just like, when you take loans out of places like the payday loans and all that shit, and you don't really. Basically, I'm pretty much doing that with the bounce safe overdraft instead of going to payday loans and all that stuff, because I never cared for those payday loan places because they rip you off, they make you pay interest out the ass. And I said, if I have to pay the extra fees and money, I'd rather pay it to my bank, who's actually been there and helped me, than to pay these people that are out here ripping off people, basically out here ripping people off who are limited incomes. And, it's the people they prey on. And if you notice, a lot of them places are in low-income neighborhoods, low-income areas. You find them in the West End everywhere, South End, parts of the East End. But, if you go in expensive neighborhoods, like you go in Hurstbourne, like if you go in Hurstbourne or Prospect or Indian Hill, you don't see those places. People, don't need them, I guess. You know what I'm saying? But them places prey on the low income and people they know are going to struggle with their finances and need a loan for payday. So, but I went to my bank, of course, and of course the $750 with my Social Security check came. It took almost my whole check to pay that off, and of course, I only probably barely had enough to pay my rent, and had my money coming from my job. And what had wound up happening, I didn't want to go on. Oh yeah, I know they got them out in the East End, but they just, you see where in the East End they have them. They prey either on us, they prey on middle class people. They prey on people that know they're going to need the money. And all, going to have them wrapped around their finger. I never cared for them. Pawn shops, I didn't care for them either. But the only time, pawn shops, I actually like pawn shops just for say somebody wants to get rid of something and give it away, and we get it cheap. We can go buy a TV cheaper or something like that. And that's the only reason I like pawn shops. But I don't have good memories of pawn shops, because people have often had to pawn and give away things they own to pay rent, get groceries, get the things they need. It's struggle, you know what I'm saying? I seen one of my friend before she died and she had her place. She often had to pawn her jewelry just so she'd have some food, I hate it. That's why I just don't like pawn shops. I wish you didn't have to do it. That didn't have to be the option. But anyway, like I said, the only way I like pawn shops is when they're flea markets. Let's just say that. Basically, used stores, used electronics place. That's what used jewelry. It's good, just shit like that. If you got a ring, and let's say you had an ex-husband that broke up with you and shit like that, or ex-husband. They gave you a ring and you don't want it back. You don't want to give it away back to them, so you take it to a pawn shop, get some money, because that way you don't have to be reminded of the son of a bitch, right? Okay, but I'm going back to let's get on the subject. Now, the subject is what happened last week. You remember when I made that? Does anybody that's watched me last week remember me making a 50-minute long video talking about my time in the rap game and how special it was to me? Does anybody remember that? Does anybody watch that? I know not too many. Some people might have watched it. I didn't expect you to watch the whole thing. You might have watched pieces of it. You might have just watched enough even though you know what it's about, but it was about my time in the rap game, and it wasn't even just about that, but it just centers on every time I tried to make something happen in life or do something in life, and something got in the way and it didn't happen, that shit. In fact, I went back through, it's kind of hard to pull a live video up that I've done when you share it, so I basically had to go pull it up myself and share it to my timeline again so people can go find the video and watch it if they want. But it's basically I will call it the pre-sequel to this video. Because the video I'm getting ready to talk about the Lord. I'm getting ready to talk about the Lord right now. Because, I think he was trying to tell me something this week in the stream of events that happened. And, sometimes things that we go through may happen for a reason, even though we don't want to go through them, because God's trying to tell us something. And like I said, I had to overdraft in my account, $750, had to turn around, pay it off, so I wouldn't get closed. And, and I know I was going to have to turn around and dig in my overdraft again, because I had paid most of my check. And even though I was getting paid at my job, take a few checks first. You know what I'm saying? I had to get caught up on some shit. I had to get caught up. Well, this is what happened. I had used a little money. I got my check just to get cigarettes, do a little shit like that. I had a few errands to run. I had to get groceries. I had to do shit like that. Just the usual stuff that we do at the beginning of the month. Pay my phone bill. Lovely. Pay a credit card bill. Well, what happened was, I had to dig in my overdraft so I could get my rent paid. My rent has to be paid. My rent comes first. So I got in there. I have to pay $365 this week, a month to pay for my rent. And I basically had to get $300 out. Well, no, I actually had to get $500. And what happened was, when I went to the ATM machine, it would not let me get $500 out. Because they give me up to $750 to do a bounce safe. So they give me up to that much. I don't try to get to that much, because in fact I have to pay it back. And it's fact, the account goes negative every month, but something that just we can't help when you're on checks, when you're on this type of income. And well, what happened was, this is where it all happened. I couldn't get the whole $500 out. Okay, they only allowed me. What are you trying to do? I was only allowed to get $300 out. But and probably even if my account wasn't an overdraft, basically my bank probably only allows me to withdraw $300 in cash per day. So I couldn't make my whole rent that day. I had to pay $265 on my rent. No, I had to pay $200. I paid $200 on my rent, plus I had to have money in my pocket. And so what I did the next day, it was kind of freaking me out because I was afraid, man, they didn't let me get the whole thing out. I'm hoping they let me get some more out because I got to pay this rent. I said, I got to have a place to live. This rent has to get paid. I got to have money in my pocket. So, you know what I did? Instead of just, in this kind of maybe, probably bring me back to reality. God was trying to bring me back to reality in this situation. That's why I think the situation happened. Well, I kept praying. I tell you, when I got to this point, I said, I never want to be out in the streets again. I never want to be homeless. I don't want to hit rock bottom again. It's that shit's happened. I said, I'm praying that never go back to that point. I was off this Tuesday this week. And I'm telling you, that's the day I went to try to go get my money to pay my rent. And when I went, I'm telling you, when I came home, I felt stressed. I thought I was about to lose it. You know what I did? I got in my journal. I wrote my journal pretty much half that day about everything. Just my feelings. And I just basically praying to God. Because sometimes, a lot of times when I write my journal, it's me. I talking to God pretty much, I'm in sitting there asking God. I said, Lord, and I prayed pretty much that day. I even got on my knees, which I've not done for a minute, And during that time, I said, I realized that I've not been praying for things like I used to. I'm into God. I have my relationships, I have maybe, but I don't think I was exercising my faith enough. I've not been praying enough. And what God was probably trying to do is get me back on track. Because the more I prayed to God, the less I worried, the less I stressed everything. I don't go to church like I should on Sundays, but, I guess it's because it's in the morning and I can't get myself, even if I'm out of bed, I'm too lazy to get out of the freaking house. I'm too lazy to get out of the fucking house. And, what I'm saying, and I guess things God is trying to do is keep me on task with Him. Because, you can have all the relationships, you can have all these dreams in the world and have all these aspirations in life, but if you don't have the Lord first, if you don't put God first, even if those happen, there's going to be problems. It's not going to be good. I've been there. I've been there because I was born, I got saved in 2001. And, I think all the mess that happened before then, my hardships happened because I didn't have the Lord. I believed in God. but I didn't have really much of a relationship with him. I didn't pray on a regular basis. I didn't have the faith. I just didn't acknowledge him. I didn't acknowledge the Lord enough. And I think, when God, this is what had happened. I had prayed and prayed every minute until I went to that ATM machine. And when I went to that ATM machine, I was able to get my $240 out. And I was able to pay the rest of my rent and have enough money till I get paid next week. And I'm like, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. And I'm praying, thanking God every time. That was like, I guess it's like a breakthrough. I don't know what you call it. What do you call it when God tries to shake you up or tell you something? God told me something right there. Maybe he just didn't respond to it. Wasn't just my responsibilities, but I'm thinking he might have been answering my questions from the last video when I said, God, how come things happen and get in the way? Well, and I think what God was trying to tell me, God could be just trying to keep me on track. And I admit I probably get caught up in doing stuff, and not saying I forget God, I forget, but I just don't acknowledge. It's not like before when I wasn't saved, but it's acknowledging and having and exercising faith in God. This is what, it's like what I did not, I noticed things I've not done anytime I've been trying to do anything in life, whether it's trying to get the rap game, trying to do my reality show, trying to be a school teacher, anything. One thing, I get so caught up in working on my projects that I don't pray about wanting this stuff. I don't pray enough and sit and ask God, hey, what's up, Miss Cynthia? It's just like what I did when trying to get that money to pay my rent this couple days ago. Well, that's what I need to be doing when I'm working on my projects. Sitting there praying to the Lord that this happens. Help this happen, Lord. Because what could have happened to me might not have been God's fault. It might have been Satan. But Satan tries to keep us down. The devil will keep you down anyway. Satan is a liar. He's a deceiver. And, and that's pretty much what happened when I was really young. My mind was messed up. I did things, got locked up and shit. We're talking about before I was saved. I was 27 when I got saved. And I remember before that time, it's like I just went through, I was down on my luck. I was very down on my luck in a lot of things. And I got messed up a lot. And I went through some shit. When I was living in Cincinnati, I got in too much and I moved up here, and that was God's plan. God brought me up here to Louisville for a reason, because he wanted me to be saved. It wasn't just about me knowing people here and all this shit. God wanted a relationship with me. God wanted me, God was basically trying to put me in check. And I'm telling you what, like I said, I still was, doing my rap songs, but I wasn't praying about it. I wasn't asking God, please, let this happen. Let this happen. I mean, it's like I gotta sit here and pray to God and think about God every time and pray and pray and pray. I gotta pray harder, exercise the faith more than anything. And I'm thinking, okay, is this God? That God? This the events that happened this week. God was answering my questions from that other video. I said, God, why does this stuff happen to me? I need to pray and have and keep a consistent relationship with God at all times, because God comes first. God comes for anything. And you know what I'm saying? When you don't have the Lord close by all the time, the enemy can enter. The enemy steps in. And, I'm now thinking, even though I went to church and had the Lord, it's just any time I was working on my endeavors, my projects, I didn't bring God into that. I did not pray. When I was working on the rap game, working in the rap business, I didn't say, God, can you please let this happen for me? Lord, can you please help me get this studio? Can you please help me get this, Lord? Or even when I was doing just regular things, trying to be a teacher, I said, Lord, let this happen for me. Let me go in and not have any problems with this principal. Please let me go in and not get into it with this other teacher. I didn't pray. I might have prayed. I had God in my home all the time. I always prayed that, anytime I had to do with trying to keep my place and responsibilities, a roof over my head, trying to help me get disability, all that stuff. Oh, yeah, I had God right there. I always prayed about it. And I got it, God was there to help and bless me. But, when it came to anything like careers, projects, stuff, dreams in life, it's like, I got so caught up with what I was doing that I didn't acknowledge the Lord. And, it's just like the reality show. I was telling you about, how I was starting to not stay on the subject when I talk, and how this is something like if this is something that starts happening to me, then, there goes my reality show, because I'm going to have to keep on the subject. So there's like a plot to the show, or a plot to what I'm doing. And, but then I'm sitting there, so I'm reminded right now that I've not prayed enough on the reality show. I didn't, because if you don't pray and ask God, and if you don't pray to God for stuff, God probably thinks you don't want it, right? God's going to think she don't care. So, but then the devil steps in and ruins it. That's what happened, I think. The devil stepped in and sabotaged shit. And I just didn't know it. I didn't realize what hit me. You got to keep the Lord in your life, ladies and gentlemen. You can't be nothing, and it's just like, I remember when I was saved. When I got saved earlier, I said, think about when I didn't have the Lord at all. Think when I wasn't saved. It was a mess. And it wouldn't matter how much money I had or nothing. But, that's not the Lord's blessings. It's the devil playing tricks. You see these people out here that, you ever see some of these celebrities out here, some of these rich people? They got it all, but they're out here messed up. And it's like they going through all these problems in their life. They not happy. They miserable. And it's like, how can it be? It's like, why? How could somebody not be happy and grateful when they got everything in the world? But it's because they don't have the Lord. They don't have the Lord. Some of them even admitted they don't have the Lord. So, I think that was God speaking to me. And when I bent down, I think, I'm going to have a little prayer. I'm going to have to just take some time out, meditate, not just meditate, but have a prayer session. You know, we need to think about the Lord. You know, the Lord comes first, you know. God's a jealous God. He's a jealous God, but He loves us. He loves us. And we love Him. He's an awesome God. Well, and that's what I got to say about that. And I need to follow and see what else the Lord's going to try to tell me. But I need to keep praying to Him and keep my faith and exercise my faith in Him. If I want something bad enough, ask the Lord for it. Because God puts us here for a reason. God has a purpose, you know. God has a purpose for everybody. It's just me, I get confused about what His purpose is for me. And I guess it's because I don't pray to Him enough. And, you know, don't stay on task with Him. You know, He's probably afraid if I make it on something that I'll just forget about Him and not, you know, even though I love the Lord, I just, you know, won't acknowledge Him much. It'll be back to the way it was. And I think what God is trying to do is to keep me from going back to the old person I was when I didn't have Him. Trying to not let me lose, don't lose the Lord, you know. And, well, that's the end of this video. And I don't think I'll be doing any more tonight. And if I don't see you again, have a good night, everyone, and peace.